Hi, my name's Wes Turnbull, and during this series I'll be introducing you to some famous people you might know well, but might not have realised were also Freemasons. Freemasons don't seek fame. In fact, humility is part of the teaching in Freemasonry, but it doesn't preclude people from achieving the best of what they can be in their personal life. However, a Freemason's personal goal to be a better man doesn't preclude him from professional success. Today we'll look at two men whose names live on. Their commitment, dedication, diligence and hard work exemplify what it is to be a Freemason. Sir Robert Menzies holds the record as Australia's longest-serving Prime Minister. He was first elected at the start of the Second World War to lead a hung parliament. His second term as Prime Minister from 1949 to 1966 took his total time in the office to over 18 years. Robert Menzies joined the Austral Temple Lodge in 1920. In 1976, his personal standard was presented to the Hearts of Oak Lodge, which is dedicated to the little ships that supported the evacuation of Dunkirk in 1940. Sir Robert was awarded his 50-year service jewel in 1972. During the Second World War, Menzies had concerns regarding the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill's intentions for the defence of Australia. Menzies' struggle to convince Churchill to send reinforcements to Singapore failed. But in 1941, Menzies led the Liberal Party he'd helped to establish through 6 consecutive successful election campaigns. As Prime Minister, he continued to build Australia's strong defence alliance with the United States, signing ANZUS and CETO treaties and offering Australian military support to US war initiatives in Korea and Vietnam. Wardell Dunlop, like Menzies, was a Freemason who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most recognised characters in our history. He was a doctor, rugby player and war hero who never stopped displaying the humility, grace and gregarious joy of life that he'd been so famous for. When war broke out in 1939, he was a surgeon at St Mary's Hospital, Paddington. In 1942, he was transferred with the Casualty Clearing Station in Java and promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. When Java fell to the Japanese, he became a prisoner of war. It was during his time as a prisoner of war that Dunlop displayed the compassion and dedication that would make him famous. Placed in charge of the medical care of prisoners of war, Dunlop was eventually moved to the Thai-Burma Railway. Conditions were horrific, with inadequate food, frequent beatings, no medical supplies, and tropical disease, all making a difficult job near impossible. Dunlop's dedication, compassion and heroism made him a legend among the other prisoners. He restored morale, defied his captors, and allowed the sick to hope. He was called a lighthouse of sanity in a universe of madness and suffering. He's credited with the high Australian survival rates from the work camp. Wardell Dunlop joined Lodge Liberation in 1954 after returning from the war. The lodge was established by returned servicemen in 1949. To this day, the lodge still uses the samurai sword relinquished by Lieutenant General Teshima to General Blamey at the end of World War II. General Blamey gave the sword to the lodge at the time of its formation. In Menzies' fight to keep Australians in Singapore safe from invasion, and Dunlop's fight to keep those same Australians safe once the invasion had occurred, we see an important aspect of Freemasonry: compassion for one's fellow man and the preservation of dignity. For a Freemason, all people are created equal. All good people should be allowed to meet on the level.